Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching or listening to this, and welcome to Link Up Leaders, your direct link to leaders in supply chain and e-commerce. My name is Lisa Kinski. I'm your producer and co-host, and joined as always by Francois Jaffray. Francois, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. What's the weather like up there right now?
Strong overcast. It's my type of weather. I enjoy the rain. I enjoy a little bit cold. It's nice.
Gotcha. I would be miserable. Weekly weather chat with Lisa and Francois. Well, good. Well, is this our first podcast since the long weekend? How was your long weekend? Safe, I assume.
Yeah. It was filled with a lot of Thai food, a lot of shows, a lot of movies. Very relaxing. So,
okay. Any new show recommendations for the audience?
Mayor of Easttown on HBO. I think I recommended it to you yesterday or 2 days ago. You have to have HBO, but it's really good. It's worth it.
Well, HBO or the premium Hulu subscription, as we so found.
Yes.
That's what I looked up. And it's Mare, Mare, not Mayor, as I first Googled. Well, let's go on ahead and talk to our guest today. We have with us, calling all the way from Serbia. It's 8 p.m. there. God bless her for joining so late. We have Jana with YLT Translations. Jana, how are you?
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. I'm great, and I'm very excited about this call today.
We're so thrilled to have you, dear. Let's just go on ahead and jump straight in case anybody doesn't know you, which I don't know how they don't. You've been on Norm's show. I think you've been on Prime Talk with Yoni. You've done Branded by Women. I mean, we've been so aware. You have a great email list, apparently, that I am not on, but I'm going to get there.
Yes.
Weekly emails.
The YLT Translations email list. Fantastic. I get them every week, I think.
Well, forward it to me. I'm disappointed you haven't already. But yeah, go on ahead and just give everybody a little bit about your background.
Right. So my name is Jana. I'm the owner of YLT Translations, and I am very passionate about e-commerce. I've been doing e-commerce for about 12 years now. And almost 3 years ago, I decided to start my own company, and we help sellers expand to all international Amazon marketplaces.
And when you say you started in e-commerce about 12 years ago, that was as an e-commerce seller yourself?
No, actually, I was a COO of one of the biggest European e-commerces out there. And I managed around 400 people. And I was working there for about 8 years. That was actually my first job after my university. I kind of started as a call center representative with a fake name. We used to kind of fake that we are in Denmark. And then my fake name was Heidi Larson. I figured out myself. I don't know why, because I studied Scandinavian languages. I actually speak 5 languages. And then after that, I kind of, I moved up the ladder. I kind of got to keep my name. So I was back to be Jana Krekic again. And so I was managing lots of different things. And they were one of the first companies that started selling it on Amazon. This is how I got interested in that. It was 7 years ago. So this is the first time when I heard what's a buy box and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really happy to work in that company, get that sort of knowledge, and just be part of it from the very start. There was 4 of us, and then it's kind of built to 500 employees at the end when I quit my job, and I just decided I want to do something on my own, and this is how YLT Translations was born.
Wow, that is quite a jump to go from the ground up of an organization that became quite large to then just taking the entrepreneurial route. I applaud you. That's very
after college.
Brave.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
after changing identities.
But But I was not, I wanted to quit my job 3 years before I actually quit my job, but I was not kind of brave enough to do it at that point. And I was not exactly being what you call a go-getter or changing my life, just overnight. It took me a while to understand that I really have to do this. And I was sure that after that point, when I quit my job, I was not going to work for anybody else. And I was I don't know if the YLT thing would fail or be successful, but I just have to try something and see like what it's like to be your own boss. And probably never going to go back to working with anyone else again.
That would be hard to go back to working for somebody else.
Oh yeah, like honestly, like 2 years ago, I would be like, well, maybe if they pay me, this much of money, maybe I will go back to office. Now I'm like that, like there's no price tag for what I'm doing right now, and I can just start new companies and new stuff and like explore and like dig deeper in all of this. But I'm never gonna go back to work for somebody else. No way.
Yeah, that's like.
Why'd you want to quit?
Because I thought I was feeling very underappreciated at my job. And I mean, I could thank my ex-boss because I am who I am today. Because if he was like nicer or like appreciated me more and listened to my ideas and advice, I would probably not be here. Mm-hmm. But I just kind of felt that I deserve more. And like, why don't I get the appraisal that I want? And if I'm capable of doing a lot of other things for somebody else, why don't I just do that for myself and get the old appraisal and money and everything I need in my life from myself and working for myself, So, I needed like the bells and whistles, and I never got that like from my previous employer. And that's like one of the things that pushed me into starting this journey, actually.
Well, and I was going to ask, what was the kind of inciting item that was like, okay, I'm doing this for sure? Like, what made you finally decide to quit, or that you were ready to quit and go out on your own?
Right. Well, the final thing, like the final step, like the final push was like that I was sent to, because I was also interested in like the business development, and I would travel and open like company branches like around Europe. So I was sent out to Russia and was just told like, you should go there and like finish this. Like I didn't speak the language. They sent me there in February. It was cold. It was dark. It was just horrible. And just told me like, take care of everything, like auditors, like bank accounts, like meetings, hire people, train people, find office space and stuff like that. And I was like, wow. And I was like, you know what? Challenge accepted, because I didn't think that maybe like I can't do this. And then after that, at like a year and a half later, I was like, you know what? Like this has been like a really like an awesome ride, and I've like managed to fulfill this goal. So I come back and so I spent all my money because I was severely underpaid for what I was doing. So I spent like a lot of my money. So I go to my boss and I'm like, you know what? Like I see that I'm not gonna get any bonus or anything for this. And I think I deserve a bonus, and I don't care, what you think, because I think that I should be rewarded like accordingly. So he gave me 50 euros. That's like $70 for everything I've did like the previous year and a half. Yeah, $70, true story. And I was like, okay, this is it. Like, it doesn't get any worse than this. And this is like one of the things that I've definitely said, like, this is like the last nail in my coffin here, this company. And I'm out of here. And after a couple of months, I quit my job. And that was the best decision of my life.
Good for you. I think that I'm going to get on a really tiny feminist high horse that it's something that I think that women experience in the workplace so often as being undervalued for their worth. And there's already a pay gap, and it's systemic apparently across all countries and all industries too. So good for you for standing up and saying, I know what I'm worth, and if you're not going to pay it for me, I'm gone, and sticking to your guns for doing that. So
thank you. So it took me a while, but I finally did it, So for any of you like listening out there, if you don't think you have it in you, like it's okay to take time, but like just remember to take action at one point, because if you don't take action, you're just going to spend your life just not the way you want it to be.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. So let's talk about the 5 languages that you speak, because I'm always fascinated by folks who are multilingual. Francois is bilingual, and I just speak English and American Southern, so one language essentially. So what are the 5 languages that you speak, and how did you come to knowing so many?
Right. Well, I actually studied Scandinavian languages at the university, which would cover Norwegian and Swedish. And then I had to learn Danish for work, which is kind of also Scandinavian language, but Norwegians and Danish, like they just Danes, like they speak English because they don't understand each other. Like there's a big difference in pronunciation. So I had to learn this for work. I also speak German, and I speak English, and Serbian is my native language. So I don't count that as language. So.
Well, but that's 6 total. You speak your native and
6
then
total
5
actually.
extra.
Yeah, like 5 foreign, 5 foreign and like one, which is my mother tongue. Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's
I wish I was that smart.
I know, right? Goodness gracious.
I mean, I'm sure that a lot of other people go, I went to school for this. So, it does make sense. I speak like languages. That's kind of my niche. Mm-hmm. And I was also like, a professional translator and a certified also teacher. Like I was teaching Norwegian and English to corporate clients. This is always like my kind of side hustle apart from my everyday job in this big corporation I was working at. And languages have always been my passion. And then when I worked in this big corporation, like I saw, like, especially when we were doing Amazon, we were doing Google Translate, and it was like a really like basic level. But then I got an idea to kind of hire native people and just gonna have them translate that without any keywords, without anything. And we would see like some small results, like, small but significant, and then I was always really interested in languages, and I kind of always wanted to kind of do like this translation agency thing. And then when I first started Wild Tea, we kind of did like everything that has to do with e-commerce, which also included Amazon. And then I kind of figured that it might be a good idea to kind of niche down to Amazon only, because I'm going to have less competitors. And I think translation agencies don't know how Amazon works, and they cannot train people into actually providing like sales copies other than just like a literal translations. And that's just, what I did. So I'm just really happy to combine like languages and e-commerce is like, my 2 passions.
That's awesome. And I was going to ask if you did just Amazon specifically, and if you did, and you've answered the question, yes, you've niched down into Amazon, and then why, but you've already also answered that. So I'm
we actually had the first time it was like when we first when I bought the domain and everything, like wildteatranslations.com, it was like a website for all types of translations. And then once I realized I want to do like the Amazon only, I just kind of migrated that old website to wildteatranslation.net, and I dedicated the Amazon listings to .com, because we already were having so much traffic on the website. So I just decided, like, we're just going to do this. I just feel, when you have like this inner gut feeling, like this is what feels like right to do, and luckily I was absolutely right. And we just kind of, from that point when I did that, people were absolutely sure that we are, specializing in Amazon and not like in tons of other things. And I also think that it's very important for your audience to understand, what do you do? If you do like 10,000 things, they're like, well, you are like one-stop shop for everything, but what is it exactly? Like, what's your specialty? What do you do? Mm-hmm. And it's also like when selling like products on Amazon and like everything else that you're doing, like you have to find a niche product. You have to find your niche, where like a service provider or anything else, like people love when they see like that you are specialized in one thing and you are like best at it. So this is what I've seen that actually works in any like branch there is out there.
Yeah, that's something that Paul Barron had talked about when he was on our show. He said you can expand your brand, absolutely, but be sure that you have that one thing that you're really good at. He likened it to a tree. Have that one deep taproot that you know everything about it, and then you can start doing your branches. So yeah, definitely a like-minded leader in that way.
Yeah, translations are weird. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, my mom, she spoke mostly Spanish, and then we would go see like movies in English, and a lot of the sayings, you just don't catch on to like the comedy, and in Spanish we call them dichos. So it's like everyone else is laughing, but she doesn't quite understand. And that's, when you literally try to translate it over, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, a lot of sellers still do it. And like what's very interesting is that like you have this like US style, which is like very salesy, very fluffy, it's like buy my product. Like people just pushed into buying their products. And then like when you go to Germany, like for instance, like a lot of people want to go to Germany because it's the biggest marketplace in Europe, and it's really trending now, especially after Brexit, but now that the UK is not part of the EU anymore. And then you have to have like different inventories, like the UK and Europe. And people in Germany, they hate it. They don't like this like salesy, fluffy style, I remember there was like one translation of a glass espresso cup that we did, and that illustrates this difference like the most, because like the first paragraph would say something like, this is going to be just like the old ship in the bottle your grand used to have while sitting in front of the fireplace. And this was like literally like the description of the glass bottle. And then the German bullet said thermoisolated glass. That's it. Which means like
very straightforward.
Your fingers are not gonna burn as your grandma gonna enjoy having coffee from the fireplace, but they don't go like all descriptive and like metaphoric or anything. They're just like gonna, go straight to business and like show me the benefits of your product, but don't push me into buying your product, or like words like, buy now, or like pamper yourself in luxury. It doesn't work so well. Of course, I mean, it depends on what product you're selling. If you're selling like kids' toys, of course you're gonna have like some sort of like language that's not gonna be like brutal and straightforward. But you really, there's like a really fine line, like how much is too much and how less is gonna, fine. So there's a really big like field that nobody kind of pays attention to, that called, localization. And as you said, like in the movies, like you would not understand the humor. A lot of things which are funny to an American are not funny for British people. I mean, Monty Python's might not be funny for American people, or the US Office show and the UK Office show, TV show. I mean, they're pretty different. I'm pretty sure like a lot of British people would not, appreciate like Prison Mike or something like that, from The Office. So that is what it's all about.
Yeah, and that was something that I wanted to ask about was, obviously you're going to have to translate your listings so that your consumers in the new area can understand what they're purchasing, right? But there's a lot of those different like colloquialisms that don't translate if you're just doing a Google translation. I mean, even with different, Francois, correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, even with the different dialects of Spanish between Spanish spoken in Mexico versus Puerto Rico versus anywhere else, Spain versus anywhere else, it's all going to be so different.
Well, they're different countries.
Well, yeah, but because I know they're different countries, but they're
so close and tight knit. I think I know what you're saying.
Like there's some level of American ignorance that they just think like, okay, you speak English, I speak English, it's all the same, but they hear Spanish and it's like, oh, all y'all can understand each other. It's like, no, that's not the case at all.
Well, Kate just cracked a joke and said something about así, which means like kind of.
I was about to say, does that mean like so?
Yeah, so. No one says así. That is not a saying, first of all. Like you go to a Spanish person and you say así, they're gonna be like, what the hell are you? What are you talking about right now? But Jana, when you were describing that, more than just like a word translation, it sounded more like a cultural translation. Is that?
Yeah.
So like, how does that differ in even the keywords? Because I know you're talking at ASD, right? And I know you're going to be talking about keywords. How does that impact, like, let's say moving from the US to Germany? How do those keywords differ?
Yeah, well, they differ a lot. And I don't have to even compare like English with German, which are completely two languages. But like, even if you compare the US with the UK marketplace, like so let's take, for instance, like a word mold, which is spelled like MOULD in British, but like MOLD like in American. So if you were to take like a one keyword, let's say from the US, and just gonna copy the whole listing and present it to the British audience, people will not be searching that same term because it's spelled differently. And also, like when you compare like keyword research for the UK and US, you will find some differences, and you will see that people don't look for same things. It's completely different market, and people spell things differently. And also, it's very important to do the research and then compare, because maybe 10% of the keywords that you'll be missing because you didn't do keyword research are going to be like the top keywords that you will use for that marketplace. So it's very important to compare, even English, let alone German marketplace with the US, because differences are so big. It also reflects the structure of the language, because like, for instance, German language has a lot of compound words. Those are like really big chunky words that are commonly used in German. Like you can literally like express whole sentence in English with just like one word in German, like sometimes. So this is going to be very, it's going to be like a game changer for you, especially if you're using like Helium 10. On other tools also, like they have set, like you want to do like long tail keyword research, for instance. So what they do is like the word count on these tools is set for number 2, which means that they'll give you 2 separate words in the research. Now, if you want to do keyword research for German in Helium 10, it's okay. Like if that said that's 2, you're gonna have different keywords as 2, like different long tail keywords as 2 different words. But you want to go back and change that word count as number 1, because then you'll get these compound words, which you will be missing on if you do the regular keyword research as you would do for all other languages, because these compound words will not show up in your results. And these compound words are very often the high ranked keywords that you want to use and that your competitors are using, and you will have no idea that they exist at all. So that's very important, for instance, when talking about German, which a lot of people don't know because they don't, of course, speak the language. They don't know the language structure, and it's also the same like when it comes to languages which are important for new Amazon marketplaces such as the Netherlands and Sweden. They also have like these compound words because the root of these languages is the German. They're all like a part of the German family of languages, so they also have these long words. It will work fine for like Italian and Spanish, as you know, Francois, and like other things. But for German, like, which is a very important marketplace for everyone, this is what a lot of people really miss on, and they don't get that good results because they don't do keyword research properly. And having keywords in listing is very important. It doesn't really matter if you have someone that's going to do like a translation for a listing and it sounds amazing, but is that going to trigger that product to show up like in the results or not? It's not. So you have to have keywords, you have to have good keywords, and you have to do the keyword research for each marketplace separately. And I repeat, do not just translate the keywords that you have from the US marketplace to other languages, because it doesn't necessarily have to mean that these keyword combinations are existent, like that they exist on other marketplaces like in Europe or Japan or Mexico. So it's always very important to do the keyword research separately and not to just translate that list of keywords that you already have.
Is that probably the number one mistake that you see sellers making when trying to do translations on their own, is just copying and pasting that list?
Yes, absolutely. They just give it to their VAs, and then the VAs use like Google Translate, and then they just put those keywords in the listing. Then they put it like in PPC campaigns. And especially if you're like launching a new product, new marketplace, the famous honeymoon period. You don't want to blow your time on the honeymoon period, and then Amazon thinks you're irrelevant for some of the search terms that you want to be relevant for, and then you're done with page number 1, and then you can either restart like the honeymoon period, which is possible, and I would not recommend doing that if you have reviews, because it will not restart your reviews. But easier way is just to follow some steps and like not let this happen. A lot of sellers still really don't think that content or translations or like optimized content is important on a new marketplace. They're just let's do it. Let's just do Google Translate. Let's just do it fast as possible. As soon as I get my VAT, let's launch this. But it's really gonna cost you a lot if you just skip this step. Because content is, of course, not everything. You have like PPC, you have photography, you have A+, you have tons of things, but it is a very, really important piece of the whole puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and trust, right? I mean, when I go to an Amazon listing and I see that I tend to stray towards the bottom, the cheaper prices. I sort them by cheapest to highest typically, and I'll see what's there. They're usually some of the shittiest listings. I mean, when it comes to translations, it looks like someone just used Google Translate and went over. And I'll look for one. I mean, they might all be the exact same price, but I'll look for one that at least has like proper English. Like, and it's just more of I trust, and maybe it's because I understand Amazon a little bit more than the common consumer, but I trust that listing a little bit more than I would any of the other listings that are priced exactly the same or have almost the exact same photos.
Yeah. And you know what, like there was a really interesting case study where they showed a couple of bags, and they were like all, it was like a French marketplace, and then there were like 3-4 different bags, a lot of them very similar, and like 3 of them were much cheaper than the first one, but their French was horrible. And so the best reviews and like the best sales came from the most expensive one because it had the best content, especially if you have like beauty products, baby products, and it was like some sort of like a baby diaper bag that could be used in like multiple ways. So people are highly unlikely to buy what they don't understand. So especially if you're buying like beauty products, supplements, or something that you are getting inside of your body, vitamins, like supplements are like the most popular category and the most difficult one. But I'm not gonna buy like some like a turmeric supplement if I don't understand how am I supposed to use it, how many milligrams there is, and what if I see like a ingredient written twice, like by mistake of Google Translate, like they maybe translate like things the same term, but it should be different one. And then I'm like, well, what is this term? Like something's missing here. I don't want to buy something which I will not be able to understand what I'm taking. And what if there are like some wrong ingredient, it wouldn't show up. And so there's so many things that could go wrong. And especially when it comes to like health or health improvement products, people are not going to buy something which they don't clearly understand how it works or like what the ingredients are. And me personally, like I would never buy that. It can be like 10 cents. Like I don't want to buy something like that. I can buy like a plastic casemate for my phone. Like I don't freaking care how much I'm gonna pay for that, because it's a case that goes on my phone. But like what goes on my body or on like kids or your grandparents or stuff like that, I would not play with that just because I want to save some money, and then I buy something which is written in like Chinglish,
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that for higher ticket products also. I was looking to buy
it's everywhere.
I was looking to buy a drone, and a lot of it did seem not native English.
Yeah.
Not from any specific region. I mean, I saw one even actually had a Spanish word, which made me think that it was a Spanish seller that translated over, and it was just a Spanish word that couldn't translate over, which I found ridiculous because it was like a $150, $160 product. I was like, I'm not gonna buy this.
No. Because like your first thought is like, if their listing and content is that bad, then this must be a shitty product. It's a not high quality product. That's what I would be like my first impression. But there's a really cool extension. It's called what's a seller, like, but not like a seller, but like a CELLER seller extension, where they will show you where the sellers are from. It will show you the little flag, so it would see like if this is like a US seller or is like a Chinese seller. It's kind of works like on and off, but I use it all the time. Let me just seller, I think it's called just sellerextension.com. It's absolutely for free. Yeah.
I wonder if it just pulls their seller information from their seller page, because now it's all public. You could see who's in China, who's in
it's called
any other country.
it's called thesellerextension.com. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But like now, whenever you go to anybody's listing, you just see a little flag, and it says where the seller is from.
Huh.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to tag that in the show notes.
Yeah.
So I think they're just gonna, every now and then it crashes because people don't like that probably, but it's really, it really makes a difference, especially like if we're talking about like from the consumer's point of view, like I would not buy something which they claim in the listing is like made in the USA, and I can see it's a Chinese seller or something similar to that.
And how important, I don't know if this is part of your specialty, but how important is a clear translation and instructions and packaging when it comes to the various markets?
Right. So when it comes to Europe, I mean, this rule has always been out there, but Amazon has not really Amazon has not paid too much attention to it, but now I think it was somewhere like February or March. Like now, it is obligatory that you have your packaging translated to all the languages that you are to the languages of the country that you're shipping your product to. So, for instance, if you want to ship to Germany or to France, you have to have some portion of that language on the packaging. It could be like a seal and peel, label or something similar to that, but it has to contain that language, like ingredients or how to use it. Like they have to be on the packaging. Otherwise, they will not ship the product to that country, to that specific marketplace at all. So now they made this obligatory. And I think this is just a way of like Amazon saying like, hey, we have rules in Europe too, because a lot of things and rules that are applied and restrictions in the US marketplace do not apply in Europe. Like, for instance, like you can still pull off like a caps lock in bullets in Europe. You can't do that anymore in the States. They'll pull down your listing, but you can still do that in Europe. But what you can do in Europe is like not to just have English on the packaging. That's a big game changer, and people just like coming back to just being like, we need to do like something about like the packaging. And what they usually do, if you want to do like a pan EU, you just put like all like 5 languages on the packaging. So that's how you don't need to rip off, and it's gonna peel and seal. A lot of people just do that, but all that the whole label just contains 5 languages, and then you're good to go.
That makes sense too. Why like all those information booklets just have like language after language in them as well.
Yeah,
like, for anything
exactly.
That needs, like build at home furniture. I don't know, like my patio set. It had like French and German and Spanish and I'm assuming Chinese and Japanese and all of the more things than I don't know how to read. But I still didn't read the instructions anyway. I did what I wanted.
And so does YLT also help? I know you do Amazon listing translations, but do you also help out with packaging and like assembly instructions?
Yeah, we basically cover all content there is like in English. So if you want to do packaging translations, if you want to do a voiceover, if you need someone to insert new translation into your pictures, like an A+ content, we can do all of that. We create flat files. So we basically cover everything there is to make your life easier when you go to a new marketplace. Anything that has English on it, like we can take care of it.
Does that sorry, I was just gonna say, like, obviously photography doesn't require translations because it's a still, it's it's an image. But is there something to like optimizing your product photography to better align in different countries and different cultures, or is like the images pretty repeatable for the most part?
I mean, people stick with the same images. There are like only a few sellers that actually wanted to create different A+ images according to different marketplace, but people just usually just stick with the same images, and then they put different text, which is either translated or like localized and stuff like that. But what's very interesting is that you can actually change main image in Europe, even though everything comes from the same database. It is expensive, but it's worthwhile because it will definitely differentiate you from other competitors. So what you need to do is like you need to apply and become a part of the Amazon 360 marketplace. That's the name of the program. Once you get approved, like you can contact your account manager and you can upload the pictures in different languages for the same product. So you can have like the same pictures like for main images showing in France and Germany, and they will have different text on main images.
Very interesting.
Different text. Are you saying like the text that pulls out and then just says right here like extended handle or something like that? Or
I'm saying like five, like let's say you have like 6 or 7 main images, right? And then maybe on like 4 of them you have a text which says like, this is the size, this is how you use it, good for using cars and stuff like that. But you do have some text. So usually like in Europe, everybody has this written in English because this is like what the database is like drawing from, like one listing and it's one marketplace. And not a lot of people know about this Amazon Marketplace 360, where you can actually pay and then you get the opportunity to upload different images as main images to have different text on them, so you can address your French audience in French and German audience in German, actually, and not just use that in A+ content, but main images as well.
Okay. Yeah, no, I could definitely see the value in having a French translation in France.
Yeah, or like, a lot of people, it's a common misconception that like everybody speaks English. It's like 15% of the whole world speaks English. That basically means that you are addressing every like third person in this world, and not even every second. And people love when you speak to them in their own language. Like I'm pretty sure like French people would love when they see like something written in French, and not in English. And, because people are not so sure, as I already said, like when people are don't understand 100% what they're buying, they're probably not going to buy that. And they're going to buy something that is well explained to them and that has like better content.
100%.
And so you at YLT, you hire local translators. Is that right? So someone in France will actually look at a listing and translate it into French?
Yeah, we have I have a big team of 60 people.
Okay.
And they're all full-time, and they're all absolutely native translators, and they were either already working with Amazon or they got our internal training, so they understand the concept of Amazon translations and stuff like that. Because when you take like a regular translator, and I'm a professional translator, and what they teach you in school and what you know is like you have a text translated and that's it. Like there's nothing more to it. You have to stick to the text a lot. And the beauty for me as a translator was like doing like tons of like translations like the whole life, and I'm sure for others on my team, is that you have the liberty to kind of do more here. So if you have like a text, like you can base yourself on this text, but you can like go on and kind of rewrite it a little bit so it sounds better in French. We never do like literal translations, but when somebody says like you can, not go crazy with the listing, but if you can kind of enhance the sentence and like the style, like you can omit like thousands of things that are written in English listing and just kind of make it sound like proper French, and so that this French person that's reading doesn't actually hear that it's actually an English text. Because a lot of times you can see that this is a translation. It's like this word order is not actually French much, it's like something's wrong, something's off. And this is something that we strive to do, and also like localization and everything, and plus some keywords and all of that. And it's really a different style of translations. It's not a regular type of just gonna translate the instruction how my machine works. How do I turn on washing machine? That's fine, and everybody can do it. But this is more of like a more liberal translation, but more kind of localized. You of course have to keep all the important information about what the seller wants and what's important for their brand. But it's also like a little bit of rewriting as well, not just clear translation.
Well, yeah, I'd have to imagine, because in a bunch of different languages, they conjugate their verbs differently than we do in English.
Oh, and yeah.
It would be
like
so backwards.
In German as well, you would have, so let's say like a present perfect, like I have worked. Okay, this is like English, and like most of the languages, this is how they work. You have the have worked, and then the rest of the sentence. Like in German is like you would say I have a lot of things today worked. Like the verb comes at the very end of the sentence, and this like have word like stays right after the subject. So it works very differently, and then the word order is very different. And if you were like to keep the structure, it just doesn't work that well. Also, like German language has much more, like when you have like a translation, if you take like a regular translation from English text will have like 1,000 words, and German one would have like 1,500 words, because they use much more words to express things, and their sentences are much longer. So if you were to say something like in German, like from English, you would have to have like a different approach to it. You cannot just like take like, okay, this is like, subject, verb, object, that's it. And you probably would not be able to do it that way and structure it that way in German.
Sorry, Francois, I cut you off. Go ahead, dear.
Oh shit. we can translate that. No, I wanted to ask about it was going back to this cultural translation, and you mentioned, there's a lot of things that are important to the brand and the brand owner, and they know what they want to get across. But how would they even know that to begin with? Like, how would they know what's important to people in France or to people in Germany? Is that something that they would also rely on you for and your localized translators?
I mean, we don't know what's important for each and every product. That's absolutely not possible. I mean, we do it. We do a lot. We do like around like 4,000 listings now per month, and it's absolutely not possible that we are, a jack of all trades and we like know absolutely all products. But sometimes when you have a copy like in English and it says like this is important, this is important, this is important. Like for instance, like is made in USA important for Germans? Like, do they appreciate that? Yes, they do, because they think it's kind of high quality, And there's some other things, like for instance, they prefer like plastic over wood, So if you're selling like plastic toys, for instance, in the US, and you want to put that in German marketplace, you want to kind of, I'm not saying like lie about your product, but you don't want to emphasize too much on this, like being 100% plastic, for instance. Or like you want to say like we sell wooden toys. That's like super important for Germany. And so you want to like in your like maybe like second bullet, you want to emphasize on like our products are 100% made of I don't know, oak wood or something like that. So that's like important. So we can make like some small adjustments, and we can be like, yeah, I don't think they will love this because they don't like to, like they don't like use plastic, for instance. But we can tell you like, oh, it's better to emphasize this in your product, because also like we don't get that much info about the product from the seller itself. Sometimes we do, but a lot of times it's just like, just base yourself on the English copy and that's it. When we do get some info, it's good. But a lot of times when you don't give us info, like we cannot know what's important for you and for your product. We can just gonna do it the way we want to. And I don't know if we will be on the same page with you. But sometimes it's like really difficult to be on the same page with seller, because they can expect you to know all of this. They don't give you any information, and you're like, well, like we can revise, but nobody told us this, So sometimes it's really challenging to understand sellers, and of course their products are their babies, but the most important thing is that they think that you know everything, and they think that they give you the product and you're like, yes, I'm the master in I don't know what, like baby oil, and it's not possible. So
that's so interesting. It didn't occur to me that made in USA would be important anywhere other than in the USA, because I feel
it is because it's still that like made in USA it kind of shows somewhat like quality, and I think in Europe like the products that say that are kind of, it's definitely more relevant when you have made in USA than when you don't have anything, because then people would just assume that those are some Chinese products,
Gotcha.
And and more products are like sourced locally, and there are like a lot of sellers that now decide not to go to China and like to do stuff locally if possible and stuff like that. So I think it's a very important. And if you are having your product made locally, let's say in the States, I think you should emphasize on that in your listing for sure.
Francois, we're getting so many I'm just listening, and throughout the show, we've been given so much solid information that we could start a brand and be so successful. Like, make it in the USA, sell it in Germany. Like,
yeah, that's not a bad point.
Toys are very big, and like for instance, toys are very big, and like you would be better selling off toys in Germany than in the US. Like the US are not that great for toys, believe it or not, but Germany is like, that's like one of the top things you can sell in Germany.
But the regulations are harder. Is that right?
I mean, for toys that are made of wood or like stuff like that if you're not selling supplements or any like of the beauty products or anything that has some ingredients in it, it's not that difficult, honestly. You just have to apply for VAT and wait for it forever, and start another company and get inventory. But apart from that, it's pretty easy.
Why is it that toys sell so much better in Germany than in the US?
I really don't know.
They love their kids more.
I have
no idea. Whoa.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Well, but I'm just wondering if it's because like a lot of kids get a thing and then they're done with it in 4 to 6 months. So like maybe parents aren't as willing to, I don't know. Like I don't know. I'm just trying to process that on my own. Cause like my friends
well,
now,
maybe, I mean, I don't have kids, so I'm probably not the best person to talk about the toys, but I think that, you know, maybe like when it comes to Germany, like people love to buy toys like over and over and over again. And I don't know, like you know, that might be it. Like I have really, it's a good question. I'll think about it.
Well, because I'm thinking about it now, like with the movement, especially here in the US, I'm sure globally, I've heard a lot of conversations globally, but like towards more sustainable solutions. A lot of my friends who have kids, I don't have any, but I've got a gaggle of nieces and nephews. And a lot of my friends want to have like, you know, non-plastic, really durable wooden, kind of like the Montessori type toys. So I wonder if it's maybe because they're shifting towards purchasing less frequently, but also like for my niece, I think it was an $80 pillow because she wanted it, which is the most outrageous thing I've ever done. And I don't even know if she uses it anymore. And so I'm like, no, I'm not going to buy you toys anymore. I'm going to like take you to the amusement park. I don't know. Like I would be more apt to do an experience over
that money more wisely. Yeah.
Yes, I know.
I just think that when talking about like wooden toys and stuff, like that people are kind of, you know, like going towards like the more eco-friendly, you know, like stop, you know, staying out of plastic. Like I know they're like banning plastic straws in Spain. I think anytime now, and the wrapping and packaging is also going to be banned, like the plastic ones. So I think like people are going to go back to like, you know, like more like natural materials. And also like I personally like those wooden toys because, you know, like also like when you have a listing and stuff like that, I think you should also emphasize on like, you know, remember how you used to play when you were young. Let's say talking to my parents, like you can play with the same toys with your grandkids, you know, and people will be like all sentimental, be like, oh yes, I had the same thing when I was a kid, and they will buy it like that. So it's also like a good thing to have for your brand, you know, like the sentimental thing with people that they will be just like, you know. So I think overall it's a really good product, like the wooden toys, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I also know a lot of parents here just give their kids iPads and phones, and they just sit on there instead of playing with toys.
Yeah, exactly. I was also about to say that. I was about to say like, yeah, well, it still looks like they don't buy so many toys for their kids. They buy like tablets and just put them like, you know, be quiet and just give them the tablet, and then they're like, you know, they're just gonna
mesmerized,
nod. They space out, and then parents are happy. And
There was something which I wanted to congratulate you on, which is that partnership with Thrasio that you just came into. I saw that in one of your more recent newsletters. How was that going? And how does all right, that's a stupid question. I was going to ask why do they use you? Obviously, they're expanding their brands, but what's that process like? If you're allowed to talk about it. If you're not, you can tell me to shut up and I'll go away. But what's that process when they get a brand and then they want to expand it to other marketplaces?
Well, I'm not. I don't know how it works when they get a new brand and how it all works out. Also, it's their process, so you better go to Thrasio for this. But when it comes to how they work with us, it's like they basically just send us you know, keywords, and like they want to do the keyword research for different marketplaces, or they send us ASINs and then we do translation of ASINs. Basically, that's how it works. And they hired a lot of in-house team like from Europe as well. So they have like a lot of in-house translators, but they have so many projects going on. So that, no, that doesn't affect us. But usually it's great working with Thrasio. They're a great company, and they're very professional, and they have tons of things going on, and they're just you know, to the moon. Like that's what Thrasio is. And yeah, but when it comes to their process and like how it works when they buy a brand and what did they decide to do and so on, you'll have to talk to them.
Yeah, no, I understand that's separate. But when it comes to the process of actually getting it all translated, getting, you know, keywords ready, getting photography ready, how is that process different when you're working with them versus you're working with, let's say, a smaller seller that just plans to go global?
Well, it's not different at all. It's all the same like principle. Like we do the same things for everyone. It's just depending on how big and small you are. Like for instance, like for Thrasio, we have like a dedicated team of people that only do Thrasio projects. And for you, like if you come to us as a seller, like you have like one product from one marketplace, somebody will do it from the team. It's not going to be like a dedicated person. So that's a difference. Like you don't have the exclusivity because you are a smaller seller. But for bigger sellers, we have like dedicated teams, and then whoever works on your projects and your brand is forever going to be working on your brand. We're not going to give this to another set of translators, because a lot of big sellers, they exactly know what they want. They have specific guidelines. They want things done in a certain way. So a lot of times we have to customize what we do and use like different channels. Some sellers want to use Asana. Some of them use like Channel Advisor. It's like different things. So it's really it depends from seller to seller. But when it comes to Thrasio, it's like everything is like really straightforward. They don't make it overcomplicated, and I think that's also one of the things why they're so successful is like they have like really clear processes and procedures for every team, and everybody knows what they're doing. And if you work with a third party as they work with us, it's pretty clear what we are supposed to do and how to deliver.
Well, that's probably awesome. Why they chose you guys and why y'all are so successful too, is kind of being able to cater that service aspect to it. Of if you've just got one or two every couple of months, then we're gonna, you may not need a dedicated person, but if you're doing stuff all the time, you need a team member. Like
you need a team. You need like a dedicated team that knows what they're doing. And if you're like if you onboard a new person every time, then they're like do something differently, different style, like, and a lot of times we do have to have like a lot of revisions until we understand what it is that the client wants. Not everything is so transparent for the first time. So we would sometimes be able would have to do like a 1 or 2 revisions until the client is absolutely happy and he's like, this is what I want, and we're like, got it, and then we apply that for like all the future products. But my favorites are the clients that have like more products, because then we understand how their brand works. And the worst thing is like when you have like 1 product or 2 products and then it's like one time only and then it's done, because they don't give us that much input and like 0 feedback. And I'm not saying I don't like to work with small sellers, but I'm just saying that you can learn a lot about the brand and about what the client wants by doing more and more products for them.
Well, and that leads into my next question is there a kind of sweet spot of the size of a seller that would be best to work with YLT translations?
Yeah, so for now, like at this moment, we love to work with sellers that have at least 10 ASINs and want to go to 4 or 5 different marketplaces. This is our, I say like an average client, and something that was really, it's not too much of an effort for the whole team, because it's like for 10 ASINs for 4 or 5 different marketplaces, it's maybe like 2.5 weeks turnaround time, which is not much. So we're not going to spend like 2 months working on it and stuff like that. So that's like really a decent, like an easy project for us, because we can give a quick turnaround time for that. And then anything bigger, I feel like, I don't know, from 70, 100 ASINs or more, it tends to like involve like the management, the C-level management, like the templates, it has to be like organized differently. It involves much more people. And when someone has like 10 ASINs, it's fine. It's like easy, and there's not going to be anything extra involved in that, actually.
Awesome.
And what can they do to prepare to come to YLT? I know you've mentioned a few times that, it's a lot of it is based on the information that they provide you. But what can they get ready to provide you before even coming to you?
Basically, it's very simple. So you can either give us your ASIN list, just like your ASINs that are live that you want to get translated, or if they're not live, you can like send them in like an Excel sheet or Word file or however you want. It's really up to you. So we're fine with everything. The only thing we don't do is we don't touch your account. So we don't upload anything into your account, or we don't like extract anything from it. But apart from that, whatever works like the best, or like the easiest for you and your team, we can work with that. As I said, like we tailor our service according to what the sellers want. So if you want something done in a certain way, I'm pretty much sure that we could accommodate to it and like use whatever channel you want, or format, or any sort of communication you need.
Awesome.
But you also mentioned, like, for example, if it's important that they relay that it's made in the USA, when would they tell you that, or when would they even think about that?
Well, I would ask them. Somebody from my team would ask them, like, so I have like this little onboarding form that I ask them to fill out after they send the ASINs, just for us to make sure that we are on the same page. So they would fill out like what's important about your brand, top three, major important things about the product, maybe your main competitors. I mean, all this information is super useful for us. If you don't have those, it's fine, because we'll do our own research. We do, of course, the competitors' research and everything, but this will help us to be on the same page, like 100%. So we would send out this little form. It's like 5 questions only, but that really helps us to show the way we're supposed to go.
And how do folks get started using YLT?
You can fill out the form on our website, which goes directly to our email, or you can contact us on Facebook. You can contact us on LinkedIn. Basically, anywhere where you see YLT, there's probably a button that says contact, and you can definitely get in touch with us that way. And if you guys maybe have listings that are underperforming in any language, you're wondering like what went wrong, or maybe you hired this translator, that translator, maybe it's a good translation but it could be improved, you're more than welcome to send us your ASINs. We'll be happy to take a closer look and send you our feedback absolutely for free. And also, if you guys have any questions or would you like any advice on anything that I was talking about, you can totally reach out to me at that's JANA at YLT-translations.com.
Awesome. And the website is just that, YLT-translations.com. It's on the screen, and we're going to link it in the description of the video and the audio experience as well. The one thing that we didn't cover was, you said you have a team of 60, but how many languages do you guys translate into in total?
We do all worldwide marketplaces. So we do, when it comes to Europe, we do Germany, France, Spain, Italy, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Poland. And we do also Turkey. Turkey is also going to be the next one to roll out.
Okay.
I got information from Amazon on Friday about that. And when it comes to worldwide marketplaces, we cover Japan, Mexico. We do also French for Canada. Canadian French is different than European ones. And some people want to have like French keywords in backend, so we can also do that. And we also do Mexico and UAE.
Okay. And are there any?
Oh, I'd say 10.
I'm sorry?
12 languages.
12.
12. I'm good in languages, not math. So.
Well, and I was going to ask, if somebody comes to you with a translation that they'd like to have done in a language that you guys don't cover yet, do you source a translator for that, or how does that work out?
Well, apart from these are Amazon dedicated marketplaces. We do have other translators that do regular translations. As when we first started, I still have them on board. So every now and then when we get for instance, Korean or Russian, we have a team for that. But if we don't have someone who does, let's say, Lithuanian, I'm not gonna Google and onboard the translator that very day just because we have Lithuanian. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna tell them that we don't have that, because I like to know the people I work with, and I like to have a solid team. So I would never outsource something to a freelancer or to someone who I've never worked before. I'd rather say we don't have the language, other than just gonna hire a random person to do that just because I want your $50.
Gotcha.
There's too much of that going on in this industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, honestly. And I think it's just kind of bad karma, and nobody's going to get rich out of doing that. So this is against my, business policy. And also when it comes to products, we had to say no to a couple of products. For instance, one product that we said no to, when it comes to translations, was the face masks. We didn't want to do that. Okay. It's just, it is what it is. And we didn't want to get into that. It's really difficult, and I don't think it's a good product to sell. And the second one
was face masks, or
the face coverings.
Okay.
Face coverings.
Is that because of the restrictions that Amazon has?
Yes. Okay. It's insane. The restrictions are insane, and you have to have a special permit to sell those. A lot of people are like, yeah, we're gonna do that, and I'm like, no, I don't want you going back to me and saying we got banned, and I'm like, I told you so, and then they'll be like, no, I want my money back, and I'm like, we're not gonna do it. So we didn't do any face coverings, face masks. There were 3 or 4 sellers that were doing that last April. And the second thing that we didn't do is some sort of like HDMI satellite dish thing. Like, I don't know. It was so complex, and it was so like specific niche of products.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked my team, like, is there anyone? I literally don't understand listening in English. Like, I don't think like a lot of people do understand it, who are not in that niche. And I asked my team, like, so can we do this? Like, is there anyone who's capable in doing this? And they said, like, no, like, we'll have to do tons of research, and it will be like tons of time involved in this, and we'll probably not get it, not even then. Like, someone who was like an engineer and translator is supposed to do that listing.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have anyone who was that like capable in that certain extent to understand that. I even talked to some of my friends who are engineers, and they were like, wow, this is really tricky. You really have to be careful with this. And then I'm like, we cannot handle that. So I'd rather say no than to have like bad word of mouth, because like, for instance, my business and a lot of other businesses in industries are word of mouth, and I don't want to, you know, have a bad reputation just because I say yes to all sorts of businesses. Sometimes it's like really good to say no, and, you know, like, just pass on that project, but I'm sure plenty more will come that you'll be able to handle, other than just, you know, like me, like I'm really like, I don't work that much in operations anymore. I kind of work on the business, not in the business anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I would not be able to kind of sleep at night. I'll be just like, why did we do this? I know that I'm going to get like a hate email from this guy, and then maybe he's going to go on a podcast or somewhere and be just like, well, the translations got me banned. They butchered my listing. Like, I don't need that, you know? And I just say no to things that I know that we cannot deliver. There are not that many things that we cannot deliver, but for instance, like super tech specs are like one of those, which you really need like an engineer who has experience with the engineer type of translations to do that listing.
Mm-hmm. That makes total sense. You'd rather do it and do it right than
exactly.
Yeah.
Just,
and I know we're at the top of the hour, but does YLT also handle like restricted keywords? Do you look into what's restricted and what's not?
Yeah,
because I know like Dots or pollen will trigger EPA.
Yes.
With
so
Amazon.
We do have a list of like restricted words, which we kind of update all the time. But then every now and then some new surprises come as like to all the sellers. Like, one of the things that we had like 2 weeks ago was I forgot the word for it. It was a mop for cleaning, and it was in Italian. So the Italian word for mop was trademarked, which we could not know because it's just called mop as it is in English. And this is somehow a trademarked word. And when you check the category, it says mop and mops in Amazon. And all other competitors, every single person had the mop in the listing, because it's how you describe this, you know. It's not like mask and then you have to say covering. It's an actual mop, right? And so we got a seller came back to us, just like, it looks like this is trademark. And I'm like, well, I wish you had told us this before we started. She's like, I didn't know this either. You know? So we kind of fixed it. We call it a different word other than mop. It's like a broom, like wet broom or something.
Yeah.
I think something like that. So all the times are like surprises, you know, like that. But we do have like a list of restricted words, and we know what not to, you know, use. Like, you don't declare that this is gonna help you improve your health, or, you know, like some things that say like pollen and some other stuff. You know, there are some things that are pretty kind of general. And then we kind of add that as we get like updates and stuff. But I mean, this is all, you know, you have to, like, if you're a seller, you have to know these things, you know, like, there's absolutely no way that we know something super specific like that when it comes to your product, unfortunately. And I don't think you should expect that from service providers, because that's kind of really super detailed. Like, you should expect that people do know what's a restricted term or type of sentence or the language. That's absolutely mandatory. But for anything more than that, you will have to do your own research.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Wow. I feel like we could continue for another half hour at least.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying this.
It's been such a pleasure to have you on, dear. Let's go on ahead and just take a minute and go on ahead and just plug YLT really quick. Let them know where they can get a hold of you again. Here's Here's the pitch. Let's do it.
Sure. So here you go. So Wildly Translations help you expand to all international Amazon marketplaces. We are the best in the game. We have 60 native translators. We do keyword research. We do localization. We're not going to butcher listings. We're not like your average translation agency. And on top of everything, we have really fast turnaround time. And our pricing is very competitive. And if you have more than 10 ASINs, the pricing is definitely negotiable. Contact us today.
There you go.
I love it.
We got it.
And again, that your website's going to be linked in the description of the video and of the audio version. Jana, thank you so much for being here. Thank
you so much for having me. I really loved being in your show. This was very great. I hope that the audience will enjoy the content. I hope you guys enjoy the content. And I wouldn't mind you guys having me over again.
Oh my gosh, we would love to. Absolutely. This has been such a joy. Thank you. And for everybody out there, if you did enjoy what you heard today, if you learned something, let us know. Like, comment, and share this with your network. Subscribe to our show on YouTube. We are now releasing the audio episodes twice a week as opposed to just once a week. And as always, we're going live with leaders in supply chain and e-commerce like Jana. Jana, thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll have you on again for sure.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
All right. Bye, everybody.